Welcome, all my friends, enemies, political opponents. Welcome to Here's the Thing, the brand new spanking edition for 2017/2018. DPR the man, that's who I am. Now, for those of you who listen to the audio feed, you have all the contact information in the theme song and the theme music, as it were. For those of you who saw the credits on the video version, you have all the contact information, so I need to say no more about that. A few things to note: on the website, you can click on the Here's the Cam button and see us on YouTube, or you can listen to the audio version of the show where you'll hear my original theme music, which I have used for years. I can't use it on YouTube because it's copyrighted. So therefore, those of you who want to hear the original music have to listen to it on the web, on the audio version, on the website, www.heresdathing.com. YouTube page, heresdathing.com. Facebook page, heresdathing.com. Google Plus, where I'll save all the videos with the copyrighted material that I have to delete from YouTube, heresdathing.com. Moving right along. Well, an awful lot's happened since the last time I did a show. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the left wing has gone completely off the end, and the right wing is still in the defensive mode. Don't know why, but I have a commentary that's going to hopefully help clear some of that up. Basically, just to refresh everyone's memory, this show is here to make you think. This show is here to offend you if necessary. This show is here so that my opinion is as important as your opinion. As I always say, my opinion is that damn important, and so is yours. That being said, we need to basically outline what I do and what I hope for. I'm going to delete all the copyrighted, copyright guard materials from YouTube. They haven't shut me down from it, but they won't let me monetize the channel because any money that's generated by people clicking on the ads or on the channel will go to the owners of the material that's copyrighted. So if I take it all out, they might actually let me make a few bucks from my YouTube channel. With that in mind, you know, I invite anyone to watch the videos, see what my god-awful face looks like when I'm delivering all this. Now, excuse me, let me make something clear. My political makeup is Republican, right-wing, conservative, if you will. Not in the sense of the today's conservatives who are branded as being all sorts of terrible things. We got into that when we talked about political correctness in our past shows, when we talked about saying it makes it so, not saying it makes it go away. You know, these types of things are all basic communications. I mean, there's nothing unusual about the way people play with words and the way people play with communication. It's all propaganda, and both sides are guilty of it, no doubt. But some of the things I've seen in the past year are just really textbook cases of the things I learned back in college a long, long time ago. So if any of you have any problems with what I'm saying, you know, first of all, put it through the filter of what is communication? What does it really mean when somebody says something in their own context, through their own eyes, with their own point of view, and refuses to admit that any other point of view could possibly exist, let alone be correct? And that's the problem we're having now. I have to say that one of the most ridiculous things that's happened to me in the past year is the friends I've lost and the altercations that I found myself in verbally with people over the election of President, and I say that proudly, President Donald John Trump. He is our president, like it or not. And if we want this country to succeed, then we need to make our government succeed. And making it smaller is one really good way of doing that. So I'm going off all over the track now because so many things are going through my head right now that it's awfully hard to focus on one. And basically, this show is going to be a smattering, a mess, if you will. And I admit that because I want to touch on so many things. By the way, if anyone wants to go onto the website and listen to any of my previous audio versions of the show, where I actually predicted a lot of the things that are happening right now, and I actually addressed many of the issues that I'll address in the future. And I was surprised, quite frankly, and I'm not bragging, but I was actually surprised at the fact that I was able to go back to a lot of those, listen to them, and realize that I'd said things 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago that are happening today. And pretty much with the results that I said they would have. I'm not foolish. I'm not ignorant. I may be ignorant in terms of how to be a leftist. I went to the left, okay? The video goes to the right. But whatever. But I am very adamant in the fact that you cannot argue with a liberal. You cannot logically refute anything that a liberal says, because a liberal is not logical. A liberal is about feelings. A liberal is about emotions. A liberal is about a concept that doesn't exist in a normal society. But I digress. If you really want to know what I've said in the past, again, you can go to the website, www.heresdathing.com, and click on the, anyway, there's a button there that takes you to another page where you can click on any show that I've done in audio only before the video era. And if you want to see the old videos, I still have them on Google Plus because they don't care if there's copyrighted material in them or not. Everything going forward will be in all places on Google Plus and on YouTube with audio versions on the website. heresdathing.com. So let's get off of about the show, the mechanics of it, if you will, and get on with the topic at hand. The topic that I want to attack today, basically, is the election itself. We go way back to a little over a year ago when Donald J. Trump was elected President of the United States. But you say, what about the popular vote? Oh, do I get that all the time? What about the popular vote? The popular vote put Hillary in office. Yes, but according to the United States Constitution, the Constitution of the United States of America, the Electoral College elects the President of the United States, not the people directly. We are not a pure democracy. We are a republic, democratic republic. Okay, representative government. The forefathers knew that if they allowed the people to elect the president, that a mistake could be made. Okay, the bottom line is that heavily populated areas would rule the country, and the rest of the country would be left out in the cold and never be able to elect anyone. No, they didn't have the same concentrations of population that we have now. But if you look at the maps, California, Illinois, New York, okay, if there were no electoral college, the simple fact is, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, California, Illinois, and New York would elect the president every 4 years. And isn't it odd that California, Illinois, and New York are strictly left-wing Democrat? I don't even think they know what the color red is. They're so blue. Okay? You look at Ohio. Look at Ohio. All the urban areas are blue, Democrat. The rest of the state's Republican. There are a lot of Republicans in Ohio. We know that because the Ohio legislature is majority Republican in both houses, and we have a Republican governor, I think. I won't go on to that topic. I'm not sure about Kasich. But That being said, what we have here is a failure to communicate. The left wants to do away with the Electoral College. Why? 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 They say it's a white man's thing. It's a conservative thing. It's a bigoted thing. Well, guess what? The Electoral College elected a black president. Thank you very much. Okay? So it can be done. I don't necessarily agree with the particular black person that was elected, but that's another story. The fact of the matter is that the right spoke out. The Republicans spoke out. The base spoke out. And what the left has done has turned this into some sort of media circus in terms of why they lost. They just can't believe they lost. Why Hillary Clinton was the next, the second coming, and they lost. She was all things to all people, and they lost. She was a woman, and they lost. Well, I'm not saying that this country's not ready for a woman president. I'm just saying that this country wasn't ready for that particular woman as a president. The country did not necessarily vote against Hillary Clinton. What the country voted against was the agenda of Obama that would have no doubt been carried on and perhaps even made more damaging by Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to go into the particulars. We can talk about healthcare. We can talk about defense. We can talk about relations in the Middle East. We can talk about all kinds of things that of late have been shown to have been completely bungled by the Obama administration. And people aren't stupid. People are smart. People know when they're being screwed. People know when the country's being screwed. It's just that people were so embarrassed to speak out against Obama because they were afraid they'd be called names. And they were. They were called bigots. They were called misogynists and xenophobes and homophobes and all sorts of terrible things that they weren't. I'm not. I have nothing against these people, whatever they call themselves. I have nothing against them. I'm just not one of them. Nor do I wish to be. And I have that right. Just like they have the right to be who they are, I have the right to be who I am. And anyone who tells me otherwise is going completely and totally against the American principle, which is freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom to be who you are. I am no one but me. Or to put it in the words of Seth Rollins, WWE superstar, be like no one. I don't identify with the right as some sort of mindless robot who follows everything they say. I don't identify with any particular group of people other than American citizens. I'm an American citizen. I happen to be white. I happen to be male. I happen to be a member of the boomer generation. I happen to be a right-winger, a Republican. But over all of that, I am an American citizen. I belong to the population of this country, as do all of you. No matter what group you want to identify with, you cannot say that you're not an American, unless you're an illegal alien. And I won't go into that subject right now. That's food for another show. So people, stop being ignorant. Stop being narrow-minded. Stop having tunnel vision. Stop screwing around with identity politics. Stop branding yourself. Stop branding others. God knows, there used to be an entry on forms that required it. Gender, male, female. Now it takes a whole page. Now it takes a whole page. I might be exaggerating a bit, but you get my point here. You can't even say what gender you are without being branded something. I don't care what gender you are or think you are, or what gender you've invented in order to describe yourself. I don't care. You're born, you're breathing, you're living, you're an American citizen, you're entitled to equal treatment under the law. Equal treatment under the law, not special provisions that apply to your little group only, or my group only. The law is the law. This is a nation of laws, not a nation of picayune regulations and identity politics, identity laws. It's a shame that this country has gone through so many periods when different groups were discriminated against for various reasons. And I can't say that it wasn't right to pass some laws in order to prevent that. Because I most certainly agree that everyone deserves equal treatment under the law. And the laws have to be the same for everyone. It goes both ways. But we are not all the same. Equal is not same. I am more intelligent than some people, and some people are more intelligent than me. I am stronger than some people, and some people are stronger than me. I am weaker than some people, and some people are weaker than me. I am healthier than some people, and some people are healthier than me. Okay? But when you start getting into who's more male or female or whatever other gender you want to invent, then you're starting to play around with God's creation. You're starting to play around with things that you have absolutely no knowledge of, that even science has gone a ways into, but still doesn't completely understand. Okay, it just blows me away. It blows me away. Identity politics, it blows me away. And most of this was around for a long time before the election last year. But after the election, it just blew up. It just went crazy. It was like this new president, this Donald J. Trump, is going to take away the rights of everyone. Well, I'm really pressed to try to figure out what rights he's taken away from me. And I would dare anyone out there to point out any rights that he's taken away from them. And I don't care what piece of identity you've given yourself. You're still an American citizen. Okay? So all of this just blew up after Donald Trump was elected. And why, you might ask? Why did it blow up after Donald Trump was elected? Well, the reason is very simple. Okay? The entire objective of the left wing of this country, the thing they wake up for in the morning, is the day they can get rid of Donald Trump. It has nothing to do with anything in reality in terms of what he's done or hasn't done, or not been allowed to do, or been stopped from doing by a Congress which has basically the fate of the world in their hands and hands it off to the minority. They don't want to offend anyone. They don't want the media to say bad things about them. What else is the media going to say except bad things about them? What has the media been saying except bad things about them? When they were in power, they said bad things about them. When they weren't in power, they said bad things about them. That's not going to change. That's not going to change. But the country can change. The laws can change. The things that were put in place by the left over the last 50 years that they worked on them and finally got them done under Barack Hussein Obama can be changed and have been changed and are being changed and will be changed. if the Republican Congress can get off of their dead ass and do something about it. And take what's been given to them, the way the Democrats did in 2008 and 9 and 10, before they weren't the majority anymore. Now, isn't that odd? Well, we won't go into that subject right now. You see, the bottom line is this, okay? Reality, Donald Trump is president. Reality, both houses of Congress are majority Republican. Reality, given that scenario, you can get an awful lot done in a hurry. But reality, they're not. Now, we go into the communication aspect of it in our next segment. Welcome to the next segment. The communication aspect. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what it's all about. Okay, again, I'm going to make reference to this a lot. I always do, and I will in the future. Back on March 15th, I believe it was. Well, anyway, there's a button on the website. It's the theory behind the show. Referring to Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the mass age. Where back in the 70s, he talked about how, if it shows up on the media, it must be true. And the media can make or break anything or anyone it chooses. Funny thing about that, the media has done everything they can to destroy Donald J. Trump. And they've failed. That's unheard of. How can that be? I made a prediction on that show, I believe, that, if things kept going the way they were, that one day we'd elect a television star as a president. We've done it. Ha-ha! Yep. Donald J. Trump, the host of that show he did, The Apprentice, is now the president. What I was referring to back then was the fact that a presidential candidate, I should say, who doesn't appear well on television won't get elected. We knew that to be true ever since John F. Kennedy. Okay? And Barack Obama was tremendous on television. I mean, he's just the most lovable guy. He's just the most folksy guy. He's just the most, sitting down elbow to elbow with a beer and just talking about what he's going to do. Yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But in reality, his entire agenda was to centralize government power as much as humanly possible, to take over as much of the economy as it could possibly take over. For all intents and purposes, a communist agenda. At the very best, a socialist agenda. And all the communication in the media was about one thing, that Barack Hussein Obama was fighting for the people every day. Every day he was fighting the establishment. Every day he was fighting the long-held belief that government didn't belong in business, and government didn't belong in healthcare, and government didn't belong in communications, the FCC, net neutrality, and all those other things that he tried to put in place to allow the government to take over large portions of the economy and run the show. But Barack Obama, he could not be criticized. The media didn't dare criticize him. Anyone in the media that criticized him was immediately banished to the hinterlands because they were bigoted. They didn't like him because he was black. Okay. I'm not going to say there wasn't anyone in the country who didn't like him because he was black. I know there were people in the country that didn't like him because he was black. Anybody with half a brain would know that. But the number of those voters who didn't like him because he was black wouldn't fill a thimble in a swimming pool, okay? They make no difference. They don't make or break a presidential election. They didn't elect Donald Trump. By themselves, they couldn't elect the mayor, a council person, a school board member. Okay? They're such a small group of people. So why in the world did the media try to make it seem as though everything that Barack Obama did was accepted by everyone in the country? Why are they still doing it? You know, they're not only coming out and saying that everything that Barack Obama did was good for the country to this day, but they're also saying that everything that Donald Trump is doing is bad for the country. And we don't even know what the results are yet. In many cases, we don't even know what those things are because Congress won't pass them. They're too afraid of the media calling them names. Now, I've got news for you, media. The American people threw you under the bus when they elected Donald Trump. They didn't hear you. They don't want to hear you. They want to hear the news, not the opinion of the media. The news is a thing of the past. We don't hear the news anymore. We hear what the media people want us to hear. Their opinion, their agenda. And they wake up every morning waiting for that news story that's finally going to break, that's finally going to break Donald Trump and run him out of office. It wasn't that long ago that CNN thought they had it. Until the next day when they had to retract the whole story and make everybody that reported it look like a complete fool. Oh, but that wasn't misreported news. That wasn't unverified news. That wasn't cooked up just for one purpose and one purpose only, to destroy the President of the United States. No, that was a mistake. It was a mistake. We made a mistake. This is what kills me. And then you go on places like Facebook, which is the cesspool of America for all intents and purposes, as far as everyone wants to be a star. And I'm not going to say I haven't done it too. But you go on Facebook and all you see is meme after meme after meme after meme based on these stories that were already proven false. References to articles diminishing Trump's statements about anything, and at the end of the article they say, but none of this has been verified. We're not sure, but they make doggone sure that the first thing they report on is what they want the left to hear. And the left stops reading after that. They don't get the rest of it, where the authors or the speakers of the story or whatever get around to saying they might be wrong. And in most cases it turned out to be wrong. Donald Trump did not invent the term fake news. Okay? All the people who voted for Donald Trump invented the term fake news. And how did they do that? Because they understand that much of the news that we hear, is not news at all. It's an opinion. It's an agenda. It's targeted. It has a reason for being said that is not for the purpose of informing the American public, rather for the purpose of forming the American public and the opinion thereof. It has nothing to do with reality. It has everything to do with what they want reality to appear to be. Now, there's an oxymoron if I ever heard one. With the emphasis on moron. I am so damn sick and tired of listening to CNN, the Cartoon News Network, blowing off all these stories that are going to destroy Donald Trump or destroy any Republican that they want to destroy today. Today's, menu consists of name the Republican, and they'll try to destroy them. But all they're coming up with is what they think. All they would come up with is their opinion of what this person said or did, not what they actually are doing, not what the actual effect might be, not what the actual effect is in some cases. I mean, that speaks to this whole Russia thing and the investigations that are going on. And again, these people go to bed at night with only one objective: to wake up in the morning and hear the story that's going to blow up the Trump administration. And they're not getting it. And they're not going to get it. It isn't there. We know there is no evidence of collusion, but we're going to keep looking until we find some. Oxymoron. How can you find what isn't there? And there's a whole bunch of people in this country who just lap that stuff up and think that's the truth. That's the way things are. But it's not real. It's not real. There is no evidence of collusion. And yet the media would have you believe that they're going to keep looking until they find what isn't there. Think about that. Just think for 1 second. How long are you going to swing your sword at a windmill before you realize that you're going to lose? You know, if we don't have a story, we'll just make one up. Well, I don't know if they go, yeah, they do go that far. More often than not, it's just a matter of jumping on anything that they think might be that big story and making it appear to be real. Make it the news. If you say it often enough, it becomes true. Bullshit. If you say it often enough, it becomes true. Only in the minds of people who absolutely refuse to understand that there are two sides in this. And they don't know a thing about their opposition other than what their side tells them. Now, I have a way of doing it differently. In our next segment, we'll talk about that. Well, if you've been patient enough, then you realize that you're now in the next segment where we talk about that. What do I do? You know, there's a guy on Facebook that I keep in my friends, and he keeps me in his, despite the fact that we are polar opposites as far as politics goes. We call each other names all the time, along with all of his family, and well, not all of his family, but one or two of his family members and so forth. Enough about that. We don't name names here. But this guy consistently asks me whenever I make a comment on one of his Occupy Democrat or being liberal or whatever, or I'm too intelligent to vote Republican memes. Where do you get your news? It's a good question. Where does one get news? I ain't got an answer for it. You don't. There is no news. News is a thing of the past. Simply reporting about events is no longer in style. People don't want events. They want reality. They want a real-time informational stream of everything that's said and done by everyone all the time. Because of the internet, because of smartphones, because of constantly being hooked up. I've had shows about that. So where do I get my news? Where do I get my news? I make it up. Yeah, that's what I do. I make it up. Oh, and I'll bet you that guy I'm talking about is going to jump all over this. I wish, I would pray to the Lord above that he watches this and hears me say that. Because he'd just be saying, yeah, you're darn right. You're damn right you make it up. Oh, you know. I make it up. How do I make it up, you might ask? Well, whether you asked or not, I'm going to tell you how I make it up. I go to the websites. Salon, Occupy Democrats. You know, all these left-wing websites, and I look at what they have to say. Yeah, I read it all. You know, I listen to Rush Limbaugh. Okay? But I also watch CNN and MSNBC on occasion. rare occasion, but I do watch them. And Fox News on rare occasion, but I do watch it. And I hear all the opinions that are out there. And I've said to you people in the past, you take all that information and you try to blend it together and look through it and see what's consistent and what isn't, and somewhere in there you'll find the truth. But you have to make it up, because no one's going to say it to you. No one's going to tell you what's actually going on. They're only going to tell you their view of what's actually going on, couched in their agenda, with their leanings. They're going to leave out important details that don't apply to their agenda. And they're going to add in details that make their agenda look stronger. So read all of it. There's a lot out there. There's tons out there. There's literally thousands and thousands of websites, some of which are really crappy, that have an opinion about what's going on. And through all of that, you form an idea of where the media is trying to take us, where the opinions are trying to lead us, whose opinion is leading us where. And from that, you can discern which opinions you agree with and which opinions you don't agree with. And that pretty much tells you where your politics lie. But as far as information, okay, what information do you actually have from all of that? Well, the only information I get is that there's two agendas out there, and I've chosen which one I agree with. That's all there is to it. Now, anyone out there who doesn't agree with me, that's all there is to it. I mean, arguing politics now has become even more contentious than arguing religion. And that's food for another show. You're not going to convince a leftist that they're wrong. You can't. But they're not going to convince me that I'm wrong either. And it's not because I'm blind. It's not because I've been told to think this way. It's because I've read both sides and I've decided which one I agree with. Unfortunately, that doesn't fly with the left. You're not allowed to look at the other side. You're only allowed to agree with them. Just try getting a speaking engagement on a college campus. So where do I get my news? What is the media trying to tell us? That was the topic of this segment, if I recall correctly. And it all has to do with where I get my news. So, you know who you are out there. You know which Facebook friend I'm talking about. You want to hear where I get my news? I'm here. My face, my voice, it's me. And I'm telling you where I get my news. I don't go to the library. I don't read memes after memes after memes after memes. I don't choose to throw that crap up simply because it's there. Okay? I look into the whole thing. And I've chosen which side I'm on. I've chosen which opinions I value more than others. And that's my right as an American citizen, just as it's your right to choose your opinions. But the left knows no humor, and they do not know how to agree to disagree. And that's where we have a problem. Okay? A true conservative knows how to agree to disagree. A true conservative understands freedom and understands that freedom means that people aren't going to always agree with them. Okay, Donald Trump knows that people don't agree with him on everything. But Donald Trump feels that what he's doing is best for the country. It's that simple. And so we move on to our final little bitty segment. This is the final little bitty segment in which I say to you that I need your opinion. You need to watch the show or listen to the show. You need to contact the show at hdt2010@roadrunner.com or comment on the Facebook page, Google Plus page, or YouTube page titled heresdathing.com. I'm sorry, heresdathing.com, and let me know what you think. You let me know what you're thinking, and I'll tell you why you're thinking it. It's that simple. So with that, we close the show